welcome to the Low Save Podcast. I'm Connor Brown, kicking it down in London town.
Of course,
And,
always. Where else is it going to be?
Of course. And today we have Jack Gordon with us.
Hello. Back
And
again.
Back again.
Another podcast. With you, Connor. Good God.
Yeah, of course.
Uh-huh.
And our good friend Hal.
Hello.
Hal is actually part of the team now, so it can't just be special guests.
I know. We've welcomed Hal with open arms.
I'm on the deck of ship load save as we sail the seven seas of video games.
You're swapping the poop deck.
That's
Yes.
correct. Yes.
Well, Connor calls me a fat piece of shit sellout.
For pointing the ship in the wrong direction
Yes.
and ending up in Antarctica.
And Connor is
The
sitting
beauty of the
wearing
triangle.
a cam. Right, okay, let's not
that's
go into
plenty
this.
of-
Let's stop this. Let's stop that. Come on, guys. Come on.
Right, so,
Well,
Connor,
today
why
we're
are we
gonna-
here today?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Jack. Because today we're going to be talking about the Resident Evil series.
Oh, yay.
Oh,
Our
Everybody
favourites.
knows it, everybody loves it.
Uh-huh. It's
So-
brilliant.
Yeah,
It is
so-
fantastic.
so
Some
Hal,
games.
why don't you start us off with how are you
well,
going to it?
that was a very good. I'd just like to say at this point that before we started recording, Connor said, "Oh yeah, I'll do the intro for the podcast and I'll go first." So I'm glad to see that actually worked out for you, Connor.
I didn't say that at all.
I think Jack, you can.
I'm
you
right
can-
here. I've got it on. I can
you-
actually play it back.
I said if Jack starts it, he'll normally say, "Connor, you go first."
And you said because you.
Edit
No,
it
we're not
right
getting into
here.
this now. We're not getting into
Edit
this
it
now.
right here.
This is going to be.
Guys.
I know. This is
Hal,
Yeah,
how
no,
did you
stop.
get into
this is
Resident
going to be
Evil?
another 45-minute episode if we keep this up.
Hal,
But,
just start. Just get on with it. Bloody hell.
Okay. It was 11 months ago when on Christmas Day when good friend James Campbell gave me a copy of Resident Evil 4 for my Christmas, as I recently obtained a GameCube. Actually, I just realised that's a load of crap because I'm actually, a year before that, good friend Jack Gordon sitting right next to me gave me a copy of Resident Evil Survivor on the PS1.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Let's just say that when I played Resident Evil Survivor, we didn't really get off on the right foot. It was
It's maybe not the
okay.
best game to start on,
Definitely not. No, considering it's nothing like the others at all.
but we might just come back to that later.
We'll come back to that later because
So,
that's an interesting one.
So, Resi 4.
So Resident Evil 4, yes, that was an exceptionally fun game. I got, obviously I didn't set my standards too high after the Survivor incident, but no, I thoroughly enjoyed Resident Evil 4, after which I decided to get into all the older games, 1, 2, 3 and 0.
You finished them all, didn't you?
I finished them all bar 0.
Bar zero.
Zero's another strange one.
Zero's a beast.
Zero, so that's the thing. I got about maybe halfway through 0 and lost interest, to be honest. To be fair, that might have something to do with the fact that I played, played 1, then 2 immediately after, then 3 immediately after that, then 0 immediately after that. Maybe I was just Resi
Burned.
my nut. But
So these games are going straight over my head. I have no idea about Zero, no idea about Survivor.
this is going to be a good podcast.
Great going on. You
But-
fucking douche.
Yes. and then Resi 5, that's one for you, Connor. Although, in comparison to 1 to 4, well, Resi 5 was. I had fun with Resi 5.
Resi 5 was good.
but
It was
Resi
not
5
a
is
horror game.
racist.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't fun.
It
wasn't
was a
horror
good
at all.
action game.
It was a good action game.
It was a terribly racist game.
Oh, shut
why?
up.
Why was it racist?
Because you went to Africa to kill black people.
We will not bring racism onto this
They're
podcast.
infected. That just shows that we kill all zombies, regardless of race.
There's white zombies in the game as well.
Only when they got complained that there was going to be all black people.
Right, enough. Right, anyway. Hal, anything more to add? To
No,
that
that's just
comment?
been a brief summary of how I got into Resident Evil. So, Jack, why don't you tell us about your story, since Resident Evil is a much bigger part of your life than it
Oh
is
yes,
mine.
I have many Resident Evil things. I'm looking around the room. I find
Well,
it all.
you've got that big box of Japanese Resident Evil games.
Of course, and I've got the pistol as well.
Oh, did you buy a pistol?
I bought a pistol,
Whose
like
pistol
the Samurai
was it?
Edge, like the Jill's pistol from the game.
Oh, right.
I've showed you it before.
I don't think you have.
Right.
But
Anyway, I started. It was a Christmas 2001 or something.
which is a
Long time ago.
Long time before I got
It was
into
my
Resident
first
Evil.
PS2 game, was Resident Evil Code Veronica. X, which was a port
Is that
of.
the one that's been HD remastered?
Yeah,
for 360?
it came out a couple of years ago for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but it was basically a port of the Dreamcast game, which they released like a year or two before. It was a good game, and that pretty much got me into the series, and then I started playing Resident Evil 1, and I played a little bit of 2. I didn't really get into that till years later, but then I played 3, and then all the remakes on the GameCube. Burned out on 0, just like Hal did. Not a big fan of that game.
No,
and then of course
we'll probably come back to that when we do our bit on Survivor, because it's good, but
it's not. Yeah,
it's definitely not the best.
And then it came to Resident Evil 4, and that pretty much was a big surprise because that game was nothing short of perfect.
I would
for me. I could honestly play that. I played that game so many times now, and I never ever get bored of it. And then Resident Evil 5 came, which was
it was, as we just said, it was good, but it was an action game, not a horror game. Because Resident Evil 4 really changed the formula.
It was good
with the over the shoulder camera as opposed to the fixed, like.
I mean,
not bad side view, but you know what I mean, sort of like.
They still had Jill Valentine and Chris. It was.
Oh, I didn't mean character-wise. I meant.
It was gameplay-wise. It was good. It was solid, but it wasn't.
Well, it wasn't the same sort of.
Didn't quite have the
like the old games. For 4, it wasn't the same. It was for 4. It wasn't the same sort of horror as the old games.
It was definitely scarier than 5, though. It wasn't really.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It had
horrible,
eerie atmosphere.
It wasn't. Well, I wouldn't have said it was better at sort of being just sort of like gross scary as opposed to.
But you got those chainsaw wielding fucking sisters were terrifying.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. The chainsaw bit was absolutely terrifying. But no, I'm not saying 4 wasn't scary. I'm just saying it was scary, particularly with the chainsaw sisters. But the eerie atmosphere, while it was there, it wasn't as obvious, let's say. It wasn't as
in your face as it
had been in previous games. And then when 5 came along, it went even more.
It was just a Gears of War styled Resident Evil game.
Yeah, with Resident Evil characters.
And then that leads on to the last game I played, which was Resident Evil 6.
I believe you're the only one out of the 3 of us who've actually played that.
I'm pretty sure Connor, you played it as well, Connor, didn't you?
I played Resident Evil 6, and what a shocking game.
Yeah, it's not great.
Is it really that bad?
It's terrible.
It looked really good, though.
It was very pretty.
I played the demo, and okay, there's 3 characters you grow, if I'm not mistaken.
You play
Leon, Chris, and some
what's her name?
Wesker's son.
No, it's fuck. The girl from 2.
No,
the girl from 2.
You play as
the wee girl.
Oh, no, you play as Thingbob's son, don't you? Wesker's
something
son.
Sherry.
Yeah,
that's
what I thought.
And
sure?
Jake. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jake. No,
Jake and Sherry.
There's no Sherry in the demo, but I played.
No. And sorry about that. It's just Connor getting his pudding. You can interpret that how
any way you like.
So we were talking about Resident 6 and how it was
going
awful.
To say. I was going to say the demo. I didn't really enjoy the Jake segment. It was just, I don't know what it was about it. It was just unusual.
I never even played the Jake segment.
The Chris section was again just like sort of typical
a broken Gears of War mess.
Well, I never saw any broken part to it. Again, that's because I gave it like 10 minutes because it was a demo. Yeah. Although the Leon part,
was probably the only somewhat okay part, but then it wasn't. I got to the part where I drowned and went, nah, I turned the game off forever.
I completed all 3 campaigns of that game. And I hate myself for it.
No, you just wanted the achievement points.
Of course, everything's for achievement points. That's why. It's the only reason I touched that game.
And anyway, I played a little bit of Revelations, not finished that yet, so can't really give much opinion, but it is better than 6. So that pretty much rounds off my.
Actually, what about the on the rail shooters? I know you've got a few of them.
Oh, the Gun Survivor games.
I've been interested to play them myself.
Well, you had. Well, it started with Survivor. With Survivor.
That's not on the rails.
Oh wait, on the rails. Oh, yeah. There's Dark Side Chronicles and Umbrella Chronicles.
Umbrella Chronicles, yeah.
They're really good.
They're the Wii shooter games, aren't
That's
they?
the one, yeah.
They're good. They're great fun. Yeah, definitely pick them up.
What are they
if you-
like? They're just like House of the Dead,
Yeah.
Resident Evil characters, or
not quite House of the Dead. Like it's a bit more serious than that.
right.
But it's basically like Resident Evil 0, 1, 2, and 3, and you play through the scenario.
Oh right, I didn't realize you actually played the scenarios.
They
original
all have their
games.
own scenarios.
Oh right.
It's not as long as the original game.
Is that
obviously,
Umbrella
just
or Dark Side?
both.
Or both?
Dark Side's more. It has its own original storylines, I think.
I see.
And then it has like Code Veronica and the stuff they couldn't fit in the first game.
All right.
Anyway, enough about that. But go check it out. It's good. So that leaves Pudding Boy, Connor.
I love pudding.
Of course you do.
Well, I mean, technically, I started my Resident Evil experience with Resident Evil Outbreak for the PS2.
Oh Jesus, I forgot about them.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that really cheap in shops, and I've got.
Well,
They're all right.
I rented it from my local game store, and I hated it.
I wasn't a big fan of them either.
Yeah.
What is the Outbreak series then? 'Cause I'm not
It was
familiar.
originally developed as like the online multiplayer game,
Oh right.
but then
Don't really see that working in the Resident. I imagine
online
it's-
multiplayer
But it
was
was
still a
with the
mess
tank-
when it came
yeah, it
out
was in
over here,
PS2,
so they
yeah.
just took it out completely. So it's basically just a single player multiplayer game.
And it's all
That makes any
So
sense.
basically, it's like a single player game.
Yes,
Which when you play it, it feels like it should
Yeah.
be multiplayer,
Yeah,
but it's not.
pretty much. You pretty much nailed it. And
So
it
yeah,
is
I played that for about
not
2
great.
days. I played that for about 2 days and got rid of it. I just took it back to the shop and said I want my refund.
Yeah.
And then I didn't play Resident Evil again until 2005 when Resident Evil 4 came out for the GameCube.
Yep, and
And-
it all changed.
It all changed there.
I love that game.
Yeah, I've already said, but that game is fantastic.
It
It's
such
very
a
good.
game. We used to, like, me and my cousins used to play it. Me and my brother and my cousins would play it all the time, the GameCube. They scared the hospital scared the poo out of me.
The hospital, wasn't it a
Resident Evil
hospital?
4.
There's in Resident Evil 4, you go to the hospital and it
Oh,
has
right,
the,
no, yeah, I remember now.
there's the guys, there's
the
those
lab
not
at the end.
the lab, well, hospital lab, whatever we want to call it.
Oh, you mean the lab at the very end of the
Yes.
game? Yeah.
With the big things that you had to like get
Oh,
the thermal
God,
When
those-
they
scope.
have the
Yeah,
arm stretches out and
yes.
they get the spikes out and they
Yeah.
kill you like that. Yeah,
They're-
And there's another horror thing.
yeah,
Them
true.
things,
Those
they were
things
terrifying.
Are also
they
terrifying.
were
Yes.
terrifying.
Especially when they did that noise like
See, the thing that Resident Evil 4 was very good
I think
at
that's quite
was,
good in
as
English.
opposed to atmospheric scares like the earlier Resident Evil games, they were very good at having enemies that could either, one-shot kill you or kill you very easily in a matter
Yeah.
of like 2 shots.
Yeah,
And the
just 'cause you couldn't
scares,
get close to them.
yeah, exactly. The scares were sort of keeping your distance from them and trying to kill them before they killed you.
So I
That
remember
was,
they would-
that was a type of scare that game nailed.
they would
right on the
grab you
head.
and just like
Yeah, they'd like bring you in
into and
bring,
peel
like-
you with spikes.
Yeah,
fucking
and
creepy.
take like 3/4 of your health off.
Aye. And
Yeah.
so Eddie, sorry, continue Connor, you were
Yeah, so I played that back in 2005. The GameCube, bought it again for the PS2, bought it again for the 360. And then
you should get the PC version as well on Steam. It's
just to complete my collection.
it's
of
great
course.
because they've added in 60 frames per second this time. It's a lot better. I actually quite
okay.
enjoyed it.
Okay, I'll have
Feels
a look at
different and it is good. I played through it again this year.
Nice.
I don't regret anything.
How many times is that you've completed it?
Oh god, it's probably in the tens.
Well, I've only, I say only, like 3 times, I think. Then I
I
tried.
think I've probably completed it about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I tried doing it on the hard setting, but I got absolutely wrecked
Annihilated.
at the end of chapter 2 when you fight the big cheese, whoever his
Aye,
name,
aye.
or
The
Well,
the boss
village
of the
chief.
village. Yeah,
I was doing that for the 360, so I can get it was the final achievement I needed, and I've got up to Krauser.
Oh god, that must be an absolute pain.
Oh,
Because
my God,
Krauser
that's such
was
a
hard
difficult
enough.
fight.
Yeah, it was hard enough on normal. It took me ages.
I didn't find it too bad once you nailed the technique down.
Well, that was the thing. Nailing
You just
the
had to wait
technique
for him
took
to-
a lot
to-
of time.
And if you came close, you just ran. And they would just start. Anyway, it's a
Yeah,
method. but it was tough time when you first played it.
Yeah, so I played Resident Evil 4, then Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil 6. I don't mind Resident Evil 5. I think it's an okay game.
I think that seems to be the general consensus of most people that have played it. It's good. It's just
it's good if you like to see it as an action game.
I think I wrote an article on an old website I did, and I called it something like the Resident Evil game for people who don't like Resident Evil.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly.
It doesn't really feel like a Resident Evil game. It is, as Jack has said multiple times, it feels like a Gears of War sort of shooter action game, which if you like, you'll have an absolute blast with it.
No, it's good. It's
something different, I would say.
Yeah, I've thought about Resident Evil 5 a lot. I enjoyed it after my second and third playthrough. I think it gets better because you have a bit more fun with it because you can get like the unlimited ammo on some weapons and stuff, and it just becomes a bit more trivial and silly.
Yeah,
you just play around with it a bit more rather than
playing it like a survival horror.
Yeah.
So there was that, and anything else, Connor?
Resident Evil 6, which, as I said, was terrible. And I played a little bit of Revelations.
Yeah, it's the same with me. I never finished it though. I'm still in the process.
Yeah.
I bought it in the 3DS.
I think that's I got it on the 360.
I've got it in the PC as well, but both of them I've got to like the same point.
Actually.
Yeah, it looks good, and it's definitely better than 6. It goes back to like the roots of 4. Definitely feels like a true sequel to 4.
Like story wise, is it sort of like the prequel to 4, if you like? Sort of what Zero did to 1.
Aye. I think it's set between. It's before 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's a sequel to 4.
Who's the main character in it?
It's our favourite, Jack. Jill Sandwich.
Jill
Sandwich. Who doesn't love Jill Sandwich?
Exactly.
I mean, when we started this Low Save podcast, we had Jill Valentine. That's our mascot.
I remember the days. I remember seeing that. It was quite something.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You were almost a Jill sandwich. I really hope this is not Chris's blood.
Aye. It's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things.
But what about you, Barry? Don't worry about me.
I've got this.
Okay, so I played a little bit of Resident Evil 1. I got enough
Here's a lot
to Jill Sandwich. And I obviously don't know it as well as you two, because I am quite very much apart from Jill Sandwich.
And we're also just going to say we have a special friend called Spish, and
Campbell, I believe
we just want to say how much he loves Resident Evil, and
he likes 4, but he doesn't like the rest of them.
Oh no, he loves the series.
Does he?
Yeah, he just loves
you're talking shit.
He just loves the series completely. And he's a bigger fan than me, and I can already see him fucking attacking the screen listening to this. And he actually fell asleep.
Yeah, actually fell.
I played 2.
This again.
I played 2 when we were around at his house. We had a few beers. He fucking actually.
No. I mean,
he actually fell asleep.
No, actually, I was there. Actually, last podcast, Jack was doing a joke about me playing Persona 1, me actually falling asleep. Right, although that was a joke. James Campbell playing Resident Evil 2.
He actually fell asleep.
Well,
actually,
that's just terrible.
And then we got to the point where the liquor jumps through the window and scares the shit out of everyone. And I was like, this is going to wake him up. Turned the volume up. And he was like, oh, who's that? Wee dick. Hi, James.
Hi, James.
But anyway,
hi, James.
And so that.
But that's it. Yeah.
What we're talking about, I can't remember.
So it's probably about time that we move on to our
next point.
Yes,
is our favourite Resident Evil and worst Resident Evil, in brief as possible, except if it is a certain title, which I will keep, which you probably guessed by now anyway.
Since we've mentioned it earlier.
So Hal,
are we really going to start
coming back to full circle? Let's have what is your favourite game and what is your worst game?
It is favourite. It's very close. It is between 1, 2, and 4. I think for me, 2 just nabs it. The atmosphere in that game is just, the characters are memorable. There's so many memorable moments in it, such as the liquor jumping through the window.
Spoilers, by the way. But
oh well,
if we're going to talk about these games properly, we need to spoilers.
It'll still scare them, even if they know what's going to happen. It's just that good a moment in it, I suppose.
Ada dying.
Yes, Capcom just sort of ignored that whole thing for 4.
Yeah.
But yes, no, 2 is an excellent game. Although I do have to say 4 and 1 are by no means
bad.
No, I mean not even that. It's just that they are very close behind 2. They're both fantastic. 1 is arguably even more memorable in terms of story, particularly down to the bad 90s voice acting cutscenes, to be fair,
and the live action movie at the start, which I could probably act
is
with my eyes shut.
absolutely wonderful. That, if you haven't seen that, YouTube it right away.
Run for that house.
And 4 also, as we've discussed, is a very fun game to play, but I reckon I had the most fun with 2. To be fair, I had a lot of fun with 3 as well.
3 was good, but I really liked 3 as well.
I enjoyed it, but because I played it on easy mode, and it basically just gave me far too much ammo.
On 3.
Whose fault is that?
On 3, yes.
3, but even still, you probably need it for Nemesis.
That's true. Nemesis are impossible to take down.
Uh-huh.
Well, not impossible, they just take a lot of ammo.
Plus, I'm not a big fan of the difficulties in the games. I just put it on easy or normal.
Yeah, and play the story.
Just play through it.
Yeah. But yes, no, Resident Evil 2 just gets my favourite Resident Evil game that I have played. Worst game. You've been looking forward to this.
Oh dear, here we go.
It's Resident Evil Survivor, and it's stupid.
What a game!
It is stupid.
It is.
The first person thing doesn't work. The controls are
god
slow and
awful,
unresponsive. It gives you unlimited ammo.
Well, only for the pistol.
But but I mean, so that's all you need.
For us people who don't actually know what this is, what is Resident Evil Survivor? Yeah. Well,
see, that's the thing, though. To be fair, I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I can't find any links between any characters in the Survivor game to main series. You may know more than me, Jack.
What was the guy's name again?
Vincent.
Was it Vincent? Like the main character?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Vincent.
Was that not the bad guy? No, it was Ark Thompson's his name. He got framed as being Vincent.
Oh right, okay.
And I think him and Leon were connected somehow. Because you read it in a file in another game, which I'm now forgetting. But
so
that's pretty much. Other than that,
to be honest, okay, there for the link.
Like you do like in the games, other games, there's like incidents. You can hear the incident on Sheena Island, which is where the game's set.
Survivor.
But that's it. It's not mentioned by any characters at all.
Regardless of that, it's still not a fun game to play. The atmosphere isn't there. It's not scary at all. It's not fun to play. And
you have infinite ammo for the pistol, which you can literally spam.
Yeah, you can spam that. Game. And despite that, when you have the pistol, there's no reload button.
Of course, yeah.
Stupid. You can't reload the pistol. And then, of course, even though it is like a 2-hour game, there's no save feature. You basically have 3 lives, and if you die 3 times while playing the game, that's it all the way back to the beginning. I know some people like their games old school and like being kicked back to the beginning, but I'm a big gaming softie who grew up on the PS2 and had,
Saying that though, the game isn't very long. It literally takes about an hour and a half first time round. I got about an hour and 10 minutes into it and lost all my lives, which is frustrating. But if you know what you're doing in that game, you can easily get through it in 40 minutes.
That's the thing, though, for people that don't know what they're doing.
You don't even need to go like a speedrunner, you just need to
They just don't have fun with it.
Uh-huh. So I can forgive the save feature.
That's the thing, if you have to know what to do, I think if it's not really intuitive, I think I don't think that's a good thing.
But they did do, if you died, you could save your items.
That's true, actually. I will give them that. You can save your items and stuff.
So you could actually start with
a lot more. Bad design on the game where it's not, you just can't figure out what to do, or
it was designed to be a gun con game, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't really difficult to find out what to do, but it was rather uninteresting.
So that's why it was so short, I think, because it's more like an arcade game. Because it did have gun con support.
See if it was like an on the rail shooter, that would have like.
I would have. I think it would.
And I think it would have worked. Like if they released it as an on the rails arcade cabinet, I think it would have worked a lot better.
And they actually did. I don't know if you've seen.
It felt very slow and sluggish to play, and the story as well felt very slow and sluggish. And I didn't have fun.
And the voice acting.
Well, naturally
horrible.
with
I'd say it's even worse than the first game.
See, that's the thing. Resident Evil 1 has voice acting so bad it's comical. Survivor's just bad.
Just bad.
Except maybe the bit where his mum phones him.
Oh yeah, of course.
But Vincent, it's your mother. My mother.
My mother.
Another one for the YouTube if you're interested. But
I don't know if you actually seen they actually made another Survivor game. Well, there was actually
tons, didn't they?
They had Gun Survivor, which is what it was called. That's what the series was called.
Yeah,
the
two. Was there any released in the UK?
All of them,
America. Because I know
not all of them were released over here,
but it's done to different names, weren't they?
Yeah, like so. Resident Evil, Code Veronica, Gun Survivor 2, Code Veronica was the second one. I don't think you've ever seen that.
Was that something to do with Dino Crisis, was it?
And there was Dino Stalker, which was like Resident Evil Survivor, but with Dino Crisis
characters.
2, something like that.
Let's get a bit back on track.
But yes, okay.
Connor's talking about rambling to people.
Like he's never been guilty of that.
You said let's try and get this a bit shorter, and
it's definitely not going to be.
You said that.
Half an hour. Anyway,
no, this section. Anyway.
Well, anyway,
I did say brief
favorite Resident Evil 2, and least favorite Resident Evil Survivor by a long shot. Jack, favorite and least favorite.
Right, favorites. Resident Evil 2 again, and we've already talked about that just there, but. Just to summarise, really liked it. Thought the story was probably the best, the most engaging out of all the games.
Absolutely.
I've played through it so many times now. You can actually go on YouTube and watch me play through it on my channel, my official channel. I think I got. You had to get a time of under. I can't even remember. It was like 2 hours and 50. Or was it 2.5 hours?
Something like that.
And I got 2 hours and 40 minutes or something. I was fucking raging. And get my infinite rocket launcher. But so yeah, that game was great. Absolutely loved it. Soundtrack was amazing. Mm-hmm. Definitely go check that out.
The atmosphere stuff.
You know, I'm such a big fan of the series. I don't really like to say worst. I do like them all in some sort of way.
Then.
Least favourite. I'm thinking about them all. I would probably say 6. I know Connor's going to say that as well. But so I'll leave him to, because he's played the most, but I just thought it completely stripped Resident Evil apart from Leon, the characters. It just felt this is an action game. Nothing. Resident Evil 5 still had a wee bit
of survival. Like they had the chainsaw character back,
whereas 6 was just Gears of War rip-off.
Yeah,
and it looked really good, and I was so looking forward to it. And when I played it, I was just
it was just disappointing.
You know, and the game was glitchy as hell, and the amount of times I think I died in a boss about 8 times or something, just because some of them was sort of like quick time events. They brought that in as well.
Oh yeah.
Well, they had them in 4, but they made them.
They had them in 4 as well.
But there was one point where you had to shoot like an enemy really quickly, or it would just run you over, and I kept on getting frustrated, and it just wasn't fun.
But quick time events just suck in general. They're not good.
No, they're good if they're done well.
If they're done well,
and if you fail them, something happens instead rather than you die.
Yeah, press X not to die.
Aye. But yeah, Connor, what about you?
Well, I think my 2 will be no surprise to anybody that Resident Evil 4 is my favourite. For obvious reasons.
It's very good.
Yeah, that we have already discussed. We would. It is just a fantastic game. And Resident Evil 6 would be the worst one because it is stupid. The gameplay is terrible. The story is horrific.
And you still completed it to 100% completion.
Because he's a points whore.
Yeah.
I love achievements so much.
They really your life, Connor.
Oh God. I'll go look back at 10 years and go, wow.
I have a lot of achievements.
You have nearly 100,000 points.
That's impressive.
That is, I think I've got...
I think I'm like 36,000.
I'm at I've just broke 20,000, I think.
In fact, I might not even be as many as 30. I might be like 25 because I hardly play my 360 these days.
I it's a terrible game. The only thing that brings up Resident Evil 5 for me is Jack. You must remember the ending of it where Chris punches a boulder.
Punches
a boulder.
That bit was fantastic. I was sitting there because you have to it was a quick time event where you had to like mash
X
or something to
smack
punch the boulder, and I was sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? This is hilarious. How could we take this seriously?
The fact that he actually manages to move the boulder,
considering this boulder, fair enough, Chris Redfield has got muscles like twice the size of his face,
like a double-decker bus.
Yeah, like the boulder is like the size of a Jeep, literally.
But that thing must weigh over a ton.
Yeah,
it's not even like he tries to push the boulder.
No, he pushes it for a bit and then just lays into it.
Just punches it
until it moves.
It's just punching. It's like, what is going on?
Oh God. So yeah. So was that.
I like how crazy Resident Evil 5 is.
It does have some quirky moments, yes.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of some right now, but
punching the boulders the main one.
Punching boulders is probably the top of
that. To be honest, the whole of that last boss fight was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
fighting a volcano.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then shooting him with an RPG.
Yeah,
and then
having to like stab your own hand because you're holding him down.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I didn't even realise that was a thing. I had to look that up in a walkthrough because I just kept like knocking him down and shooting him, knocking him down, thinking, right, eventually he's going to die.
He's going to die and you run out of ammo.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I must be doing something wrong here. Apparently you need to grab him and Shiva stabs him through your own hand.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
So anything else to say, Connor?
Resident Evil 5 has Jill Valentine, where you basically just stare at her boobs the whole time. That's alright.
Yeah, she's in the
whole boss fight where
lycra suit.
Yeah, the boss fight where you actually have to pull the mad computer thing off her chest.
Yeah. And actually, Resident Evil 5 has, in the DLC, it has the that mansion.
Oh, I've never played that.
Mission. That's really good.
Mansion is in
Lost in Nightmares or something.
Resi 1 mansion.
Yes.
So it's like a flashback mission or something.
It's Chris and Jill as they go after Wesker.
Oh yeah, I remember there's a cutscene where Wesker punches Jill out a window or something.
Yeah, it's leading up to that.
Yeah.
Oh right, that would be quite interesting then. I'd like to play that.
I would recommend it because it is really good. It's a really good mission.
Yeah.
Sounds like good fun. Anyway, it's time to move on to our final topic of the evening.
What do we want to see in the future Resident Evil
games?
Or Resident Evil 7? To be maybe a bit more precise, or if you want to say...
I would say, to be honest, as much as I'd like to see more games in the style of 1 to 3, and 0,
it's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I don't think that
controls will just never come back.
Yeah, exactly. Tank controls won't come back.
And there's fan games out there if you want to play that kind of game.
True, and I feel the sort of style is very good. Don't get me wrong, but it feels sort of outdated.
Yeah, it's definitely a 90s.
It's a 90s thing, and perhaps it should stay in the 90s.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
But if it can go back to something like 4 is still a very relevant game, and it still nails Resident Evil on the head. It's still got all the horror and Survivor with all the cheesy bits on top of it. If they can sort of like forget about the whole action game thing that they tried to do with 5 and 6, I reckon they could have a good one.
What would you guys say to a reboot?
A reboot of
Resident Evil?
You mean like Resident Evil?
History?
Yeah.
What?
And start. Well, maybe bring like Umbrella back, but
maybe maybe the games 1 to 3, but with 4 controls.
Maybe not even the events. Maybe just
because I would be very interested to play.
I'd be very interested in a reboot these days. I used to be like, no, what are you talking about? But there's the way it's going.
Well, bear in mind, they're doing the remake, and they did the remake, and they're doing the remake with tank controls and stuff.
But you do have the 3D controls as well.
Oh, do you?
They've built it in this. It just looks weird though.
I didn't know that. I'd have to look that up then because that sounds very interesting. But
yeah, I'm just getting kind of sick of Resident Evil storyline. It'd be nice to see something fresh.
So
what they did in Mortal Kombat, I would like to see something like that. Where they kind of have an ending to it, but then like they go back, or not exactly like Mortal Kombat where it goes back in time, but some way of making fans know that they still love the old story, but rebooting it for a new generation.
Well, maybe something like the Tomb Raider reboot, where you keep the characters of Chris, Jill,
just make it
a different story.
Yeah, that would be really good. And they made it like the style of Resident 4.
If they did it right,
or even Revelations. I think Revelations.
If they did it right,
especially if they did like the
there
mansion.
could be a lot. A lot could go right with that, and a lot could go wrong. To be honest, I'm not counting on that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think they're going to milk
if they're going to
franchise.
Yeah, if they're going to do anything, they're going to do a Resi 7,
especially
which is going to be like
with
6.
The financial state that Capcom is in. I don't see them ever doing a reboot for a while.
As risky as that, because it is a very risky thing, particularly with the hardcore fans.
But I think
to be honest, they're just probably
now after Resident Evil 6, it's going to be risky for Capcom anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably why they're doing the remake, because they know that hardcore fans are going to lap it up, and it's just a money generator for them to pour into what could be another Resident Evil 6. Hopefully not, if what you're saying is true, but only time will tell.
I mean, the fans like Revelations a lot. They should probably just listen.
How does Revelations play then if it doesn't play like 4?
It plays like 4. Like you still have the shit
over the shoulder camera,
and I'm pretty sure you can actually move. I can't remember if you can move and shoot, which is really good. But they nail the sense of like the atmosphere. Like it's not.
Well, if they did something like
it's
that,
more
for 7. If they
claustrophobic, and you definitely feel a sense of horror.
On this ship, isn't it? It's like the mansion where you're just stuck in one building.
Yes,
and it just builds up tension.
Yeah. So it'd be good to see something like that. But anyone else have any points to add to that as we are
that's all I have
marching the 40-minute mark?
Well, we are. To be fair, we are shorter this time than we were last time
by like 2.5 minutes.
No. When you cut out like I was talking shit at the beginning, and of course when Connor got his pudding,
of course,
I love pudding.
It'll be like a half-hour episode.
Yes.
And when you cut out the bit about me hating you for the Legend of Zelda review, which will be this bit right here. Yeah.
Right. So
with jazz,
that concludes our podcast on Resident Evil. We hope you've enjoyed. We've actually sat down yesterday. We've sorted out some plans of what we're going to do, and hopefully
the channel will be a bit more varied and have a bit more content on it in the near future.
And
we're still trying to get our bearings on all this stuff.
Absolutely.
See quite how we like to do the reviews and how people respond to these reviews.
Yes, please do respond.
I also already have a review on my Zelda review from a certain someone. His name, it's Connor Brown.
Oh god, I hate fucking.
So anyway, saying that, we'll be back soon, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And we'll see you next time, guys. So see you later.
Time.
Goodbye.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill Sandwich.
You're right.